Alrighty, so this last video is going to be only a couple minutes, just like the cleanup outliner was, 13 minutes. It should be even shorter than that, or about the same amount of time. This is for exercise 2, right? So really, you don't have to do it for every model you've built so far, but like maybe 2 models, right? So I've got my clock radio open again. I'll bring kind of my desk in here, and then maybe kind of like my lamp, right? This is referencing. Also, by the way, I did kind of remember the quick key for moving along normal direction, right? So of course, if you turn your move tool on, there is always transform. If you feel more comfortable with that, it's fine. But if you hold down, you turn your manipulator on, move tool, right? If you hold down control middle mouse button on any handle, it moves along normal direction, right? So it's really just grab any handle. It could even be the center one, but as long as you hold down control and middle mouse button, it'll move along normal direction. I always forget that quick key. Just keep that in mind, right? Edit mesh transform. But if you don't want to use edit mesh transform, control middle mouse button on whatever move handle you want, right? And that'll move along normal direction. So just kind of wanted to make sure you guys know that that's there. There's a cool quick key for that. I'm so used to using the transform tool when I need to use that, which is not all the time. All right, so what is referencing? Well, referencing, with the part you have to do is actually really, really easy, but I always like to do a little bit more to make sure you guys have the full gauge of it. What a reference is it gives you the ability to basically, and in fact I'm going to run another seed of Maya for this here. So I'm going to minimize this for the moment and relaunch another seed of Maya. We'll give that the time to kind of catch up to us in a minute here. But what referencing is, so I can fully show it to you. So this video might actually be a little bit longer than it needs to be, just to explain things to you. But the actual part that you have to do is ridiculously easy. What referencing basically is, and you might even find that this will be easier to do with combined objects, right? It doesn't really matter too much though. But referencing is the process of loading in one scene into another scene, but that new master scene that has several scenes imported into it, right? And we're eventually going to see how to import scenes also. What's cool about referencing instead of importing is that both get you objects, multiple separate scenes into one master scene, right? One super scene that's got all of the scenes in it as their own objects, right? Right now we've really been just building one scene at a time, right? The clock, the desk, right, is kind of this one asset. So basically what this does is it really allows you to load in scenes into another scene, but it keeps a connection to the original scene, right? Importing doesn't do that, right? If you go File, Import, you can import one of your Maya scenes into this scene, and we're going to do that for our Project 5, for our room, just because it's a little easier. We don't have to worry about referencing. Referencing comes with its own strengths, but also comes with its own drawbacks. We'll keep the texturing a little simpler just by importing, and it'll be great because then we can get practice importing. But importing really just brings the model into the scene, and that's it. It's in there. It's part of one giant scene. But lower down is something called references, and this is in the File menu right here, References. And there's a Create Reference, which is all you actually have to do. It's the only thing I can test you on when you turn something in. So this is the only part you have to do, and it's ridiculously easy. I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking briefly about some of the basic functions of the reference editor and show you what the referencing is actually doing. But what reference does is, yes, it imports one of your other scenes into this scene, but it keeps a connection so that if you make changes in the original scene, you can update it in this one and it'll change it, right? This is really more useful when you're working with a bunch of other people in a studio, right? And you're modeling stuff and you turn it over to the layout guy who's kind of setting up the scene, getting ready for animation, lighting and rendering, and, oh, I've made some updates to the model, I need to give you the updates. You don't want to have that other person to have to reload that scene and reposition and everything. You just want them to be able to go to the reference editor, select a couple of things, and reload, and just automatically updates them wherever they're at. That's really cool about that. If you're working by yourself, but you've got a really complicated scene that's got like 80 things in it, it might be a little easier to use references, right? So really big scenes, when you're working with other people, it's a lot easier to use a reference, right? Because that way you can update the model in the original scene, and then they can just kind of tell it to update really quickly. And it's a much easier way than having to re-import and reposition everything. So the part about creating references is really, really easy, right? So all I really have to do to create a reference is go File, Create Reference, and then I can find something else like desk, and I can hit Reference. Hit Continue. And in this case, it's okay if they're on top of each other. Does not matter, right? It's one of those things that does not matter at all. You guys don't have to lay them in a position. You don't have to do this for the whole room. I just want to see that you paid attention to how to create a reference. Now you'll notice in the outliner that I will see the objects brought in, but you'll see there's kind of these little blue diamonds, right? That means they're referenced. Also, when I go to open these exercise 2s later on, what'll end up happening is it'll even prompt me when I go to open it up. It'll say, couldn't find the reference for desk, couldn't find the reference for lamp. That automatically is telling me you did it properly, right? That it couldn't find the reference. Because that's one of the things that is a drawback to referencing, is that you really have to turn in all the other models also. So you'd have to turn in all the models instead of just exercise 2 scene, right? For it to be properly work, right? Because it needs to be able to look back at that original scene, much like your scene has to be able to find the images, right? The reference images. It has to be able to find the original scenes. So you guys are only going to turn in the exercise 2 scene. So this is going to be one of those things, if it gives me the proper error, I know you did it right. I know it's weird, but it's really just to test that you marginally paid attention to what referencing is and how to create one. So really easy to create references. In fact, I'm going to go File, Create Reference again, and I'm going to go back out. Go out one more time, and I'm going to go to Project 2, Scenes, and I can just load the lamp in. So hit Reference, Continue, and now you'll see there's more objects in there for the lamp. So that's what a reference is, right? Kind of neat, kind of cool. Here's the thing though, and this is one of the reasons why I actually have opened up a different Maya. I'll kind of just leave it partially open like that. I'm going to go File, Open Scene, and I'm going to open up that lamp. All right, so I'm going to go to my lamp. And this part you just watch, right? Create reference is the only thing you guys actually have to do. It's the only thing I could actually test by you turning in a scene, right? So continue. There's the lamp. Kind of move it over here a little bit. Actually, we can keep it there. That's fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, I probably need to make an adjustment. So I'm going to go to Edge Mode. All right, I'm going to grab this edge loop and I'm going to scale it out. I'm going to grab this edge loop and I'm going to scale it out, right? Maybe even do a quick bevel on it just so there's a little more geometry. Do a quick bevel on that one so there's a little more geometry. There we go. All right. Now, you guys don't need to do this. This is just me showing this off. I'm going to quickly save this scene, right? Now, I'm going to undo it in a few minutes. I'm going to come back and undo those things so I don't have it on my lamp. But you need to save that scene if you make changes. You guys don't have to do this. All you have to do is go File, Create References, and load in your desk and load in your lamp into kind of the original clock radio scene. Now, if I go to File, right below Create Reference is something called Reference Editor, right? And Reference Editor is cool because what it does is it brings up all your references. Now, this is where you have to remove a reference, right? Now, you'll notice that if I kind of make this a little bigger, there's the desk, there's the lamp. You can select these. And in this case, I'm going to select the lamp. Now, if I go to Reference here, you'll notice this is how you can remove it. So if you reference stuff in and you want to remove them, remove reference from right here. You can duplicate reference. You can create references from here, right? So you have some options. We don't have to go over all this stuff. You're not supposed to be experts at referencing, but we want to make sure that you've got the basics down. You understand what's going on with the reference. Now, in this case, what I really want to show you to really help you to get to understand this is I went to the original lamp scene, right? And changed the original lamp scene and then saved it. So if I select the lamp in the reference editor, I can click on Reload. And you notice how it automatically reloaded that with the changes. That's what's cool about referencing, right? Is you don't have to keep re-importing everything in here. You just go to the references that your friends told you, hey, I've updated this model, I've made some changes. They just go in and say lamp, reload, boom, and it reloads those changes that you saved from the other scene. Now in this case, I'm going to undo, right? Control Z, because I liked my lamp the way it was. And then of course I can save again, right? Just close that. In this tab I can close that Maya. Give it a second. And then of course I can go back to lamp here and I can hit reload, and it reloads those changes. So that's what your creating reference is super easy. That's the only thing I can really test you guys on, right, is that you've created references. And like I said, I'll see the blue diamonds in front of the objects, and it'll give me that kind of couldn't find the this model reference. So there's an error that when it brings it up, I know that it's looking for the reference, which means you properly created the reference. And then of course, this is all in File menu, Create Reference. That's all you guys have to do. Reference Editor is this, but it's neat to show you guys that you can reload references, right, by selecting on it. Give you a proper demonstration of what the reference is actually doing, that it really just allows you to reload whatever changes got made outside in the original scene. And then of course you can remove references and some other stuff. So that's how referencing works. And then of course we can go save scene as, because we don't want to save over your clock radio scene. And in this case I'll just kind of probably put it in the Project 3 scene. You can put it anywhere you want to though. And I'll just call this Exercise 2. Remember, you don't have to follow the naming convention for your exercises, right? These are just meant to be super quick, one-off things that you can do in like 5-10 minutes and then say, hey, or maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and turn it in, right? So that's all you have to do for your references and creating the reference stuff. So that's it. That's Exercise 2.